As we prepare to enter the 6th season at Budapest Honvéd, we've started to make some moves in the staff department to try and improve our range of knowledge, and so we can prepare to start scouting the likes of Asia, with Kai Tamura being our new scout. We've got someone else I'm looking to bring on the way. If he signs me, it's a great deal, but if I don't get him, it's not the end of the world. Radu Baikul is the person we're trying to bring in as the chief scout. He is really good for the role, and if we can get him for the price we're looking to pay, that's amazing. The knowledge he brings in will be exceptional, and we're looking to start scouting a lot of places in Europe. We've also made one more signing before the season ticked over, and I had to make this signing because I felt this guy is the future right back of one of the best teams in the world. Tomáš Havranek is the person we brought in from the Czech Republic. He was bought for £3.6 million. His team, Jablonec, have been using him for the last couple of years. I know that after one full season, this might be a bit of a risk, but he's only 18. He's already got 9 caps for the Czech Republic. So, surely, this makes sense in my mind to bring such a young talent in, even if he's got a temperamental personality, and his media handling style is outspoken, volatile, and confrontational. So, it could go very wrong, but he's a leading player for our division. He's also consistent, and he could become a lot better. So, it makes sense to bring this guy in. And the best part is, there's no release clause, we're paying just 7.5 grand a week up front, and it's good business as far as I'm concerned. It just made sense to make this decision to bring this guy in so early on. We are once again predicted to finish in second place, but we've now got 5 players in the Media Dream 11, so that's a good sign, and I like to think that we are doing much better again. Kurzawa has had bids from Tottenham so far, one very insulting bid, mind you, but there you go. He's also got interest from Saudi and other Premier League clubs, so this will be a difficult time to keep him, but I've already convinced him to stay with us by telling him that the atmosphere in the dressing room was really, really good. So this guy could be staying with us, and we are only going to sell this guy if we get close to 10 to 20 million. I think you can see why when you look at his attributes and his previous records for us. I am not letting this guy go anytime soon, even with all the interest he's got, and also he becomes homegrown in nation and club in half a year, so it makes no sense in my mind to let him go. The league is now 20th place in competition reputation in Europe. We are still behind the championship, which is actually filled with really good talent, and there's a reason why Hungary starting to look to scout England and all of the UK as a whole. But we've got things to look forward to, we've got things to work towards, and hopefully we can continue to do that. We dropped down to 18th place after last season, but this year we're losing a very bad year, so I like to think that this is the year we will start to make inroads again. If we can get close to Croatia, that's great, because Croatia is the place we need to go to get 2 Champions League spots and to get an extra place in Europe. Top 15 places were great. We just need to get to that point sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, despite getting the League and Cup double last year, we are still just a 3-star team. Our performances in Europe haven't really upgraded us to that next level yet, which would be amazing if we could pull it off, but I wouldn't be shocked if we don't get there anytime soon, unless we progress past the league phase of the Champions League. Speaking of the Champions League, we've been given our second qualifying round draw, which is another reason why we need to get better and better and get further into the competition. We've been given either a team from Montenegro in Budućnost Podgorica or RFC from Latvia, so it's not great, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world because we're now actually a top 80 team in Europe for reputation in coefficients, so that's a good sign. And slowly but surely we are starting to make ourselves better and better, which is always the aim at this point. And the fact we've got 2 more years of bad years with no points in them to wait for before we start to have to worry about anything else is a good sign, and one that tells me we could potentially go up a lot of places if we do well in Europe again. Even without playing a single game right now, we would go up to 71st place in the coefficients anyway, so that's a good start to things. We just need to make sure we develop ourselves and do well in European competitions to get further and further up this list. If we can get to the top 60 or something, that would be outstanding. I don't see that happening, but that is the dream. That being said, we're not anywhere close to being a top team in Europe, so we need to work towards that to get into this list, which is ultimately what we need to be doing in the very near future. Also, Man City have done the interviews. I wasn't approached, so probably for the best. I did not do anything about this role and didn't prepare myself. Apparently, Luis Enrique could be the person that becomes their manager, which is interesting to say that Barcelona could become vacant again. Nagelsmann has actually ended up becoming the favourite still either way, even though he declared he wasn't interested, and the fact we were mentioned here says a lot, but there you go. Speaking of managers though, we should look at our reputation and our profile. We are now a 3.5-star reputation manager, which tells you that we've got a bigger reputation than our club at this point. We've got a fairly determined personality, which is useful to say the least. And a lot of people that we've worked with in the past either like us or just have a very fond memories of us. So a lot of people, a lot of players like us, and backroom staff also like us as well. Serge Aurier is now retired. He's not interested in talking to me, even though I'd like to have him in my backroom staff just to help him develop even more and to help him get his first job. That being said, I think he should be fine. He should get a job sooner rather than later, right? We've had a few offers for some of our players. Nicola has had offers from Frankfurt and Norwich, which he's turned down. We had an offer for Derby for Boxey, we turned him down. And Angers have been wanting Okeke. Bjarkason could be on his way to Vohenval, which is not terrible. It would mean we made a loss of £160,000, but given that we had literally said that we could get £375,000 if he got sold to AGF and they've not made a bid, tells me more than I want to know, and tells me that maybe, just maybe, they were never going to go and make that offer. But it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Zen Ziri's had 2 offers for his services, but Vista is the team that's going to be getting him right now. He is 28. He isn't really good enough for our point of view anymore. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, getting over $500,000 for this guy when we signed him for nothing is a great bit of business. And it will be a very fond farewell to a player that once upon a time was outstanding for us. But he was so hit and miss with his seasons that it didn't make sense to keep him on. The fact we're going to make over $500,000 for him when he was barely in my first team plans is honestly outstanding for our point of view. We've honestly probably whipped them off as far as I'm concerned, but there you go. We got our squad planning. Jaskalainen actually signed a new contract with us until 2030. He actually took a pay cut to do it, so that's an interesting move. But he's got Casa Finland now, so he's probably won in that regards. I don't really plan on using him, but he is good enough to be a good player for us. So if push comes to shove and we need to have a backup goalkeeper, this guy is absolutely great for the role and would slot in perfectly. And with our new right back, he's immediately up starting right back. We do have players still wanted. Savage is now still wanted by the Saudi clubs. Bagador's wanted by Angers, Dinamo Kiev and Girona. Tamas is also wanted by Levante and Oviedo. Victor is wanted by Nuremberg. And we've got a loan offer for Dominic right now, which I haven't really decided if I'm going to take yet. I still haven't really made an offer for a right winger yet, but I've also decided I don't really need to at the moment. I'm just going to see when my cards fall. Striker-wise, we don't need another striker. Dragon's already in the Media Dream 11, so as far as I'm concerned, he can be developing quite nicely and do well. The bug is also wanted by Dusseldorf, Porto and Celta Vigo, so if they come in and make big offers, I might be considering letting him go, even if he was a top goal scorer last year. But we also need to make sure we keep our best players around for the homegrown status for the Champions League, so that would be useful. Kane Wilson is definitely down the pecking order now, and I wouldn't be against the idea of sending him in the future, because he is our third choice right back now, who could also play further forward if we were desperate. But we're not desperate. We can find better players, I like to think. But I should probably talk about what I've done with Kai Tomura and his new scouting role. He's still doing the same things before, but we're going to Japan, Australia and South Korea for him because he knows the areas quite well, and it makes sense to go for those areas where they are probably the best areas for Asian talent. In the future, we'll probably try and find some great players there, admittedly, this guy would not be a player that fits us right now. He doesn't really play the roles I'm looking for. And if he did, he isn't amazing for them either. So he wouldn't be my first team plans. He's too expensive. And that's the thing. That being said, we are in our scouted players range. And we're looking at players aged between 15 and 19. And there are some players that we could pick up. Though a few of them are probably not very good. This guy wouldn't fit my strategy, wouldn't fit my roles. He's not a playmaker. He's more of an anchorman. And it's not great in that regards. He's also a bit of a halfback, but I don't really use halfbacks. I know I signed my other DM last year, despite the fact he wasn't really fitting the role, but he was also very, very cheap. This guy's at £2.7 million. That's not cheap for us. I have tried to get this guy, actually, to sign for us, but the club just want us to pay the £5 million release clause. Annoyingly, he's probably worth it, but I don't want to just splash out on the money and break my transfer record right now. But he would be interesting, and I could just see him going into the role perfectly fine, and it would make sense to me. Whether or not he would be playing the areas I want to be playing, and could do it perfectly, remains to be seen. His 5 tackling leaves a bit to be desired, so it's honestly the main reason I haven't got him for him. And I know that sounds very silly of me to just say, yeah, I'm not going for him because of one attribute, but it just feels like a thing I shouldn't just dive straight into, because he's definitely a playmaker. But if I was to go deep line playmaker, I would need to go do better things. But Mazzola definitely feels like a role he could play. But do I want to spend £5 million on him? That's a question I need to ask myself, when £5 million is most of my budget. And I still need to get a right winger right now. So I can't justify that right now unless I find someone on a cheap for free. Unless I go and make this guy a right winger instead. But that makes no sense in my mind. He's an inside forward on support or attack. And he's only got 7 work rate, which doesn't make sense. He's also inconsistent and is definitely a striker, not a winger. Then again, the work rate thing is an issue, so something to work towards, but also costs £4.8 million for his release clause. So again, surely not the smartest move. Now, this guy was on the other side of the pitch as a right wing. I'd probably go in for him right now, but he's also a left winger who's an inside forward. So I wouldn't go for him anyway. We're kind of stacked on that side of the pitch, ironically enough, with Salazar and Hambelik, so no thank you. That being said, maybe Angel Ganev could be the player we use, but as a striker first and foremost, before we transfer him and make him a inverted winger, he's got the attributes, and his crossing is the same as his finishing, so it's not like his finishing is great. He's also only got 2 tackling, which is not ideal to say the least. But as an inverted winger on attack, he could work. The fair of 16 does stand out to me. So he absolutely could benefit from that sort of thing, but he's also too young to consider going to us. He would have no interest right now. And let's go for the likes of Stefan Leko, who is also a bit older, but also his potential isn't amazing, so I don't think his potential is going to get much better than it is right now. He says he could improve a lot, but I also think that this is a bit out of date. Okay, that was literally 2 days ago, but still, not great. Unless I decide to go for a risk and go to South America and go for this guy from Colo Colo. 215,000 to 2.1 million pounds for his services. Could work. Weird enough, this is going to sound bizarre, but my right back could be the better. Surely I'm not thinking this as an idea, right? This I shouldn't go for this idea, should I? No. It would be a waste. It would be an absolute waste not to use him further back, because he's marking, yeah, I'm not going to go for that. But this guy, international player, could be adaptable, is only worth between 250,000 to 2.1 million pounds. He's 18, does turn 19 in July, so do I have to think on this one. but he does look like he could be a player that works in my system. Unless I go for this kind of player who is young, very young, does turn 18 in 5 days' time, and as a second tier player, is inconsistent, mind you, but definitely could work. Maybe I just go for this guy and go from there. He is going to face a lot of competition, mind you, so it's one of those things, isn't it? But perhaps I'm not being patient enough and I'm going to try and jump the gun too early. We've got plenty of time before our first game, 33 days in fact. And our first game in any competition is about 3 days beforehand, so 30 days time, a whole month away, we've got our first competitive game. So I don't need to rush into this. I could take my time and go from there. But either way, what I'm going to be doing is ending this here. Where do you think I should be spending my £12 million for my players? I've got a load of good players ready, but I definitely need to improve the squad and go from there. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I hope you guys would like to share this video and that you'll subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a lot. But anyway, until next time, goodbye and well, good night.